welcome to Notorious Women Podcast. I'm Lavetta.
And I'm Miriam.
And this is Notorious Women, a comedy podcast about some of history's most notorious women.
That's right.
Y'all.
Y'all.
I am so excited about today. I know, though, that you go first this week.
Do I?
So,
okay.
Yeah. So who are you? What notorious woman do you have to tell me about today?
What? Did you take Shakespeare class? What?
Oh, yes.
When? Where?
Where?
Why? Woohoo. Just kidding.
Actors are such freaking hams.
We're very obnoxious. It's true.
We can't help it.
I know. It's a problem.
But that's what makes us good at this podcast, you know?
Right. It's just in real life we're intolerable. But
you said that. I did not. Actors, we love you if you're listening to this.
We love actors. We are actors. We can't really hate ourselves. So
that's right. Some of us are problematic as fuck.
But. Listen, it's a fact, but because of that, I was like, I will not be marrying an actor. And then I met my husband and I was like, oh, and it was like, what? It was like, he's an actor.
I don't know. There's a couple of them I wouldn't mind marrying. I'm just, taking them for a test run.
Well, you need to know before you buy the car.
Exactly. You got to take it out for a test drive, baby.
Okay. Going down a few streets, but only the streets you're comfortable driving. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
I should stop talking about this.
Yes. Because you're a married lady.
I'm a married lady, a happily married lady. That's right.
Exactly.
But I'm not dead, right?
No.
I still have eyes, right?
Of course. You can admire,
appreciate.
Exactly.
Appreciate. Did you see the new Little Mermaid?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I will say I'm not big on these live action, I like the animated ones.
I understand. But, what's her name? Hallie, I forgot her last name. Is
Haley Bailey.
Is it Haley Bailey or Halle Bailey?
No, it's Halle Bailey.
I think it's Halle Bailey, but
because
I didn't want to mess it up.
Well, she said her mother was going to name her after Halle Berry. But,
that's cute.
But it's Bailey, so they thought it was too similar, so they changed it to Halle Bailey. Yeah.
Listen, she is incredible. I thought she was incredible.
I've heard, and I do love her. She's a protege of Beyonce, her and her sister. So
that very much tracks to me. She's incredible. But my point is that the guy who plays the prince, I'm just saying, is like,
I know that guy. That guy is from a film. There's a series of more recent films. I think they're from 2019, 2018 about Agatha Christie. It's basically fan fiction about Agatha Christie.
Okay.
There's 3 of them.
I'm going to watch them all.
And there's one where, because she famously divorced, what is her first husband's name? His last name is Christie. I forget his first.
Right. Mr. Christie. She famously divorced Mr. Christie.
Yeah. And there's a movie from the 80s with my bae forever, Mr. Timothy Dalton playing the husband.
Okay. Okay.
Young Timothy Dalton is
I remember.
fine as fuck. Anyway.
I'm not mad at him. Yes.
But so it's sort of based on, so she divorced him, Archie, that's his name, Archie Christie. She divorced him, or he left her for this other woman, and she disappeared. And that's what that whole movie Agatha is about from the 80s. But she never really talked about it publicly after what happened, after they found her or whatever. So one of the films, the more recent films, is about, she took a trip to the Middle East to kind of clear her mind. So it's like a fictional account of what may have happened. And she goes on this, to the Middle East and on this archaeological dig, and she meets this guy who becomes her second husband. Okay. And that guy who plays the prince in The Little Mermaid plays the young guy. And he's so adorable. He's basically this young guy who has a crush on this older woman, and he's so adorable. So yes, I know.
Listen,
I agree with you.
I am a happily married woman. Very happily married. I am. I just, like shout out to 16-year-old me who would have had so many posters of that man on my wall.
Yeah, he's very cute. He's very dreamy. Very dreamy.
Damn.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would be
I feel like a dirty old lady when I look at him.
No,
like,
I do too. I'm like, he's a child, but like, okay. You're right.
That smile. Yeah, he's very attractive.
Dimples.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
So let's get back on track. All right.
Back on track. Who's your notorious woman this week?
My notorious woman this week is Ruth First. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
Okay. So she was born on May 4th, 1925. She's Jewish. Her parents emigrated to South Africa from Latvia. And they, it's Julius First, her dad, and Matilda Lavetta, her mother, became the founding members of the Communist Party of South Africa, which was the forerunner of the South African Communist Party, right? They just moved words around, but it's the same thing. So she was brought up in Johannesburg. She joined the Communist Party, like her parents, as she got older. So this was allied with the African National Congress in its struggle to overthrow the South African government. And that's why they were communists.
Okay.
Because it's not the Russia you think of as communists. Right. It's stop being dicks to your people. That's what they were. Like, don't be an asshole party, right? So she attended as a teenager, I don't know how to pronounce it, Jeppe High School for Girls, Jeppe. Hepe? I don't.
Sounds, yeah.
I spelled it. And then became the first person in her family to go to university. She received her bachelor's degree from the University of Witwatersrand. I think I said that correctly.
You said it. I don't know.
I did say it. Words came out of my mouth. That was a start. In 1946. So she was at university. She found, quote, on the South African campus, the student issues that matter are national issues, end quote. So she was involved in the founding of the Federation of Progressive Students, also known as Progressive Students League, and got to know, among other students, Nelson Mandela, who was the future president of South Africa, and Eduardo Mondlane, who was the first leader of the Mozambique freedom movement called Frelimo. She was very smart. She received first in sociology, anthropology, economic history, and native administration. So I just think it's important to note, like, all of her activism was sort of based in a lot of knowledge.
Wow. She knew a young Nelson Mandela.
Yeah,
wow.
She did. Right?
Wow.
So after she graduated, she became a research assistant for the Social Welfare Division of the Johannesburg City Council. And then her position in the Communist Party in 1946 was boosted significantly after a series of mine strikes during which leading members of the party were arrested. So basically, all of her elders in the party were then jailed, and then there she was, head of the party.
Yeah.
Which is, not the greatest way to rise up in ranks,
Right.
Then she became the editor-in-chief of the radical newspaper, The Guardian, which was later, surprise, banned by the state. So through
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me an apartheid colonialist government banned something that was demanding rights for people? No, I'm shocked. I'm shocked, I tell you. I'm shocked.
Listen, it is shocking because they had that way of life so their people could feel free. And then they could use the word free in almost every sentence.
Right.
Gotcha. Right?
Gotcha.
That's weird. Yeah, turns out. So through investigative journalism, she exposed the racial segregation policies known as apartheid, which you and I know, but maybe not everyone, targeted Black South Africans following the rise of the National Party in 1948. So basically apartheid became law. which is bad. Yeah, I'll just say
Just
it.
after there was a Second World War about
Yep.
freedom.
It's such bullshit. It's so fucked up. I said it. I'll say it again. So in 1949, she married a man named Joe Slovo. I don't know that I'm saying that right. Slovo, probably. And I have no idea. It's probably Slovo. He was a South African anti-apartheid activist and communist, and they had 3 daughters, Sean, Jillian, and Robin. And together they became a leading force of the 1950s protest era in which the government outlawed any movements that opposed their policies. I know, right? Isn't that weird?
Sounds familiar. It sounds like some people are talking about that right as we speak.
Doesn't that feel a little too close to home?
Sounds like a familiar playbook.
Oh, yeah. It must be this one book. People keep rereading this one book.
Yep.
Put the book there's one book I'd like you to put down. Every other book should stop being banned. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is interesting. So she worked with The Guardian, and there were other newspapers as well that she worked with. The South African Congress of Democrats, which is called COD, which was a white-only wing of the Congress Alliance, was founded in 1953 with support from her. Now, #not historians. I'm confused at that. I find that odd. I don't know if you're anti-apartheid aggressively, why are you, I don't know. Maybe that's the only thing that could have worked. I have no idea.
Maybe some of our, someone who knows more about South African history can put it into context, but I mean, she also could just be one of those people like some of the abolitionists in the States who were against slavery, but not for equality of black people with white people. I mean, I don't know.
It could be, but I'm not. If you learn about the rest of her life, it doesn't track.
Or maybe it was a strategic political thing.
That's what that makes the most sense to me, that perhaps you couldn't have any black people at all. There was a law. There was no way of bringing them in. And so they said, okay, fine. We will create a wing that fights for their rights, but we won't have black people so we can stay in. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm making shit up.
If anyone knows, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We will talk about it again because it's fascinating. So in 1955, she assumed the position of editor of a radical political journal called Fighting Talk. Her and her husband were also members of the African National Congress, in addition to the Communist Party. You see why, then.
Yeah.
I think she's just like, everyone who is on our side, I'm going to support.
Yeah, it could be that.
Yeah. But that's bullshit. Anyways, I'll go on. I don't know.
Hard to tell.
And in the 50s, there were extensive riots that she was very much a part of. This was funny. I'm going to read this out loud. Her sharp criticism and her impatience with bluster earned her enemies, and she was often feared in political debate. But she wasn't dogmatic, apparently. And as well, there were some issues, because I thought of this too. Like, how do you do this and raise three small humans?
Oh, yeah.
And there were strains in the family. And her daughters eventually grew up to talk about what it was like growing up with her as a mother. But she was devoted to her family.
Mm-hmm.
But so she was one of the defendants in the treason trial of 1956 to 1961, alongside 156 other leading anti-apartheid activists who were key figures in the Congress Alliance. So her early work and writings were largely used as evidence to prove treason on behalf of the Congress Alliance. After 4 years of being harassed by the state, all 156 of them were acquitted of their charges.
Wow.
Yeah. So my guess is that they didn't have actual couldn't really do anything but harass them.
But it still took 4 years.
4 years. It's crazy. Okay, so the Sharpeville Massacre was, look it up. It was a very big, it was a poor area that there was an uprising, and then they said, is that he said, she said, but probably what happened was people were arguing against apartheid, and then some of the people who were trying to defend the innocent people being affected by the people who were uprising got aggressive and people died. It's bullshit. But there was a state of emergency, and she was listed as one of the enemies, right? And she was banned. She couldn't attend meetings. She couldn't get any of her work published, and she couldn't be quoted. So I'm not trying to say I think they were peaceful and that the police shot them down, because that would be alleged. And I can only allege that of my feelings in this. So she fled to Swaziland with her children. And after the emergency was lifted 6 months later, she came back. She was once again, so the Guardian that she was working on became New Age. Was same thing though. So she was once again editor. And then in the following 2 years, she wrote the book Southwest Africa, which remains the most incisive history of early Namibia. She also helped to organize the first broadcasts of Radio Freedom from a mobile transmitter in Johannesburg. She, during the 50s, was producing up to 15 stories a week.
Wow.
Which is a lot. Her investigative journalism was the basis of her longer pamphlets and also later her books. So in 1963, during another government crackdown, she was imprisoned and held in isolation without charge for 117 days under the 90-day detention law. She was the first white woman to be detained under this law.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know they were mad at her.
You know? They're like,
pissed.
we hate you so much, it's almost like you're a black person. I mean, they
Race
were,
traitor.
Yeah, and other very terrible things. I love how she just never gave up. She never gave up hope that things could be better. I give her that.
That's a good point.
Because that's hard. By the way, like how was she detained for 117 days under the 90 day? Yeah. They let her go and then immediately arrested her again and held her for another 27 days. What's the math? And then let her go. So in March 1964, she went into exile in London. And there she became active in the British anti-apartheid movement. This girl does not give up. She was a research fellow at the University of Manchester in 1972. And between 1973 and 1978, she lectured in development studies at the University of Durham, which was in England. And she also spent time working at universities in Tanzania and in Mozambique. In November 1978, so time passes, she took up the post of director of research at the Center of African Studies in Maputo at the Universidad Eduardo Mondlane. August 17th, 1982, by the order of Craig Williamson, as it came out later, who was a major in the South African police, she was assassinated.
No.
By opening a parcel bomb that had been sent to the university. So she...
Damn.
I know, right?
Wow, I did not see that coming.
I know. When I did the research, neither did I.
Oh my God.
I mean, she was someone to be feared.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah. Bridget O'Loughlin was an anthropologist who worked with her, was in the room where it happened. And so she testified to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Wow.
And that's how they found out. So her close friend Ronald Siegel describes her death as, quote, the final act of censorship.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's terrifying.
That is crazy.
Right? It's oof. Presidents, members of parliament, and ambassadors from 34 countries attended her funeral, which was held in Maputo, Mozambique. So during the Truth and Reconciliation Commission proceedings and Craig Williamson's amnesty hearings, he denied being aware that the bomb was to be sent to her, and so he was given amnesty. And the family appealed and lost. So I should retract what I said about that it was his order and say it was allegedly his order.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, depending on where I read what. So I'm just going to play it safe and say allegedly.
Yeah.
So yeah. Someone somewhere thought she was a bad idea.
Oh man.
Isn't
Wow.
that awful?
That is like, you know, it's also because like sending somebody a bomb in the mail is just like that's everyone's nightmare, right? Like you just go and get your mail or you have a package, especially if it's a package, because you're like, ooh, a package. And then you're just like, wow.
That's awful.
Did it kill anyone else in the room?
I don't think so. I think it was just her. That's from what I read. Like the other woman, Bridget, was in the room with her and she was fine and was able to, I don't know if she was fine, but I didn't get that she was, forever destroyed somehow.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they had it out for her and she wasn't back in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Her book she wrote a couple of books, but she wrote a book called 117 Days, and it is the account of her arrest, imprisonment, and interrogation by the South African Police Special Branch in 1963. And it was published in 1965. It provided it still provides, because you could still get this book, account of how she endured, quote, isolation and sensory deprivation while withstanding, quote, pressure to provide information about her comrades to the special branch. Her daughter, Jillian, published her own memoir, Every Secret Thing, My Family, My Country, in 1997, which is an account of her childhood in South Africa and her relationship, which I have not read this book, but I will read this book. And also about her relationship with her parents. And have you seen this film? Because I saw this film, the film A World Apart from 1988.
Sounds familiar. World Apart. Let's see.
Yes.
Who is in?
The screenplay was written by her daughter, Sean, and it's a biographical story about a young white girl living in South Africa with anti-apartheid activist parents, although the family is called Roth.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I've never seen this.
I saw this in high school, and little baby activist Miriam was once again born. I get reborn every so often. And I remember thinking two things very, very clearly. Oh my God, that ocean looks so beautiful. I want to go to there. And I cannot believe apartheid is still happening. Fix it.
Yeah. That's that recent history people don't want to acknowledge.
I mean,
that's Barbara Hershey. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Barbara Hershey.
No, this is crazy. It's also a testament to like when you do fight back and you're in the right still, you become a martyr sometimes. Like,
yeah.
The fact that they, imprisoned her, exiled her and all this other stuff. And they were just like, yeah, we got to get rid of her.
Like it also is a little telling as to how powerful she was.
Yeah, absolutely. They had to get rid of you.
But my God, I mean,
I've never heard of this woman.
I mean, it's funny. I was looking like, I was looking for Jewish women that I didn't know much about. And it's funny because I remember this movie very well. I remember finding out it was real. And then I didn't think about it for 30 years and then found
Right.
her. And I was like, oh my God, what is her actual story?
Wow. Wow. That is so, I mean, I'm like dumbfounded. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I remember it like and I think I feel this way a lot in a lot of places because in the movie, you know, they show how beautiful South Africa is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been so amazing to me that the dichotomy between, you know, a government that's dangerous and awful with like the beauty of the land that they have taken over.
Yeah.
You know, I felt similarly when I went to Bavaria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how beautiful
gorgeous.
the place around and how such ugliness and evilness can be playing out.
Yeah.
Alongside such beauty. I have a question. When was so you said that the Williamson guy was, he was brought to the reconciliation trials. When were those?
See, I'm not really sure. That's a good question.
Okay.
It was after the fact and I'm not, I think someone named him and I think he was, I'm not sure. The family seems to think that he definitely was behind it.
Mm-hmm. Her family.
And her family.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just don't, I don't know. And honestly, I cannot imagine it was one person alone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
You know what I mean? Like, and maybe that is how it was like, well, it's messy just to say this is one guy.
Yeah. No, if it was him, he was definitely acting on orders.
Exactly.
You know, and a policy that is just terrible when you are, this is what we're trying to avoid here now. Like when the government is behind the terrorism on their own, citizens.
When you have a government of thugs, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes, I've seen it. Good people get swept up in trying to do
terrifying,
something good.
Right? Like you try and go along to get along. You're like, oh, maybe, you convince yourself, oh, maybe it won't be too bad. And then it turns out to be worse. It's always worse than what you think it's going to be. Yeah. Always.
For real. I know. It's incredible. And that's like where I feel like with what actually happened, I don't think you're ever going to fully, like they tried. There's there's a commission for it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that there's a lot higher up that probably happened that will never.
Well, yeah. I mean, and then we famously know that Mandela spent 27 years in prison for political prisoner and was let out in what, 90?
Like yesterday. I mean, I remember when it happened. When he was let out.
Yeah. And what, 90? He was let out, let's see, in prison in 62 and let out after 27 years.
So math, go.
I know.
It's 90, isn't it? Then 89.
It is. It's either 8 or 9 or 90. No, it happened on February 11th, 1990. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So, wow. Thank you for sharing that. I've never heard of her.
Welcome. I'd just like to repeat one quick word. Alleged.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. She's incredible.
Well, thank you for sharing that. My notorious woman this week is not, she is a different kind of notorious. She's not notorious for being an activist and against hate.
Yeah.
My notorious woman this week is Susan Smith. Do you know Susan Smith is?
No.
It's the most basic ass name ever.
I was going to say she sounds like everybody from the 80s.
Well, let me get into
all of my elementary school teachers.
You know who this is. When I get into it, you'll be like, oh, I know who this is. Okay. So Susan Smith was born Susan Lee Smith in South Carolina on September 26,
My
1970.
birthday.
Mhm.
Oh, this is bad. 1970 what? What?
1971
Okay, gosh, she's
to,
older. Okay.
to Linda Sue Harrison and Harry Ray Vaughn.
Okay.
Now, so when she was 6, and again, she was born Susan Lee Vaughn, and she became Susan Lee Smith. Now, when she was 6, her father took his own life.
Ooh.
So it's believed that there may have been some mental health issues there.
Yeah, fair.
Obviously there was some pressure. But after that, her mother remarried a man by the name of Beverly Russell.
Okay.
Because again, this is 77, so it's still that time.
Not a lot of therapy in the 70s,
Not a lot of therapy, not a lot of also I'm thinking of like her mother. She has these children she has to raise,
right.
and these are Southern people of a certain ilk, and mother's looking for another man. So she married this man named Beverly Russell. And it's believed now that at some point Beverly began molesting Susan.
I hate her so much.
Yeah.
She should burn.
Or Beverly is the guy. That's his name.
Oh,
So,
I can't. Sorry.
No, her mother was Sue. No,
her mother was Sue.
Yeah.
Her daughter was
or
Susan.
Linda Sue, excuse me. Yeah.
Linda Sue. Okay, there's a lot of names. Beverly.
Welcome
Beverly needs
to the South.
Like, he needs to burn. Burn him.
And again, him. This is alleged, but
allegedly burn him. Got it.
Yeah. Now, whether it was because of this family history of mental illness or a combination of both, Susan attempted to take her life at age 13.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's awful.
She attempted to take her life a second time after graduating from high school in 1989. And her affair with a married man ended. So she obviously, her father died when she was a kid. Her new father figure is abusing her. So obviously she's looking for male validation.
Yeah.
Love, looking for love in all the wrong places, as the famous Southern country song goes. And so, yeah, she was so young and already having an affair with a married man.
That is, that's not a good sign of anything.
Yeah.
Oof.
Now, 2 years later in 1991, however, she married a man by the name of David Smith.
Okay.
Obviously they're very young because is she, 20 at this time?
Maybe even 19.
Yeah. Reportedly, the marriage was not a happy one, as infidelity was an issue on both sides. Ooh, because they're 19, early 20s.
Yeah.
Southern small town. Yeah. Now, in fact, the now married Susan, at some point, a couple years later, she and David were separated. It could have been postpartum depression. It could have been a whole bunch of things because
they
had 2 children. They had 2 boys. Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
see how Southern I'm getting right now? Oh my Lord.
Well, and this was in 1994. So about 3 years later after they've been married. They've only been married 3 years and they already have 2 kids.
That's so fast.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Now, so in 1994, she was, separated from David, and she was having an affair, a torrid affair. All her affairs sound torrid, with her boss's son. A guy by the
never
name of,
a good idea. Oh no!
Well,
don't
I mean,
do that.
it's if you can snag a rich man son, why not, right? So, and this man was named Tom Finley. Okay. So Tom was the boss's son. Now, some think that she may have also been having an affair with his father, her boss, at some point.
Ooh,
that's alleged.
Okay.
But, obviously the one with Tom would be a lot more appropriate, more age appropriate, and just appropriate.
Well, let me ask you this. If she's not married, is she just having a relationship with him?
No, she's married. They're just separated.
Oh, okay. Got it.
They're still married. Yeah. And it's only 3 years after they've been married.
Ooh, okay. All right. I tried.
So, yeah. So again, the affair was hot and steamy with Tom, but it started to, cool. And basically Tom broke up with her.
Okay.
So basically this woman can't catch a break, right?
Right.
So, and yeah, so just remember that. Now, Tom basically cooled things off. He wrote her a letter breaking up with her, basically.
Okay.
Because it's 1994.
I was just going to say that is so 90s. That is 1994 right there. Okay.
Yeah. At least he didn't put it on a post-it note. But anyway, I digress. Those who know. Because on October 25th, 1994, the then 22-year-old took a short trip to Walmart. She left work. She was a secretary. Okay. Just a working class job. Right. She went to the nursery to pick up her boys, and then she went home, and then she thought, let's go and take a drive out, have to run some errands. So she went to Walmart, and then she thought, I'll go by a friend's house. Cause again, she's being rejected by a guy she's in love with. She thinks, and again, her marriage is on the rocks. So it was at this point on the way to the friend's house after leaving Walmart, she said that she was carjacked.
Okay.
So frantic, she reported it to the cops shortly after that she had been carjacked by a man who drove away with her sons still inside the car.
Oh my God. Okay.
But she also added that it wasn't just any man, it was a black man.
Oh, this bitch. Oh God. Oh. Why you gotta go there? I know you have problems, but like, Jesus, stop it.
Yep.
Okay.
So she, of course, was upset, as well as David, when she told him about it. So they reported it, bulletins went out, the public and the news outlets, local news went crazy.
We're all like, we told you black men were bad, right? Cause America.
It's not just cause I'm a black woman, but generally speaking, any carjacker, black or white, other race, whatever, any carjacker who gets in a car, takes the car, and then looks in the back seat and sees two children. Most likely, if it's just a carjacker and not like a child killer or some horrible, terrible person, but just a carjacker,
right?
It's going to be like, oh, fuck.
Never mind. They're going to be like, never mind.
The next block down is going to be like, yeah, I don't want none of these problems. Not today, Satan. Not today.
Right.
Okay.
Like, I'm just trying to steal a car, paint it, and then sell it. That's what I do. Right.
Especially a black man who gets in a car, it drives away, it looks at the back seat, it see two little white kids.
No.
In South Carolina.
No, they know better. Okay,
like,
so
don't
the media
want these problems.
The media could have taken the information, right, and maybe had some thoughts and opinions beyond. Look out for that black man who stole that car. You know what I'm saying? Like,
look out for the black man who stole two white kids. Yeah. So if you can't really tell, I ain't buying Susan's story.
I can.
She on TV. Oh Lord, bring my children back. I just think about them all the time. Oh Jesus, Lord Jesus, help me bring my kids back, my boys back. So of course, news is eating it up. This is all over the news,
and not one investigative journalist is like, "Wait a minute." I'm just saying, come on.
Well, maybe not. So. Okay. They're taking her on her word. This is a young white woman, right?
They love
like, oh Lord,
my
kids have been taken away from me. And investigators, obviously everybody was on the search for the kids. Obviously this is children. The first 48 hours is very important. You're like, oh my God, the hope is that, like we said, he looked in the backseat, was like, oh my God, these kids, nope, don't want to do this. And then he got out of the car, right?
That's yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're hoping. Or he drove maybe out of town and then just left the boys there or something, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're hoping. So, but investigators continued to search for the boys. They began to doubt Susan's story because again.
Okay, about time. Go on.
I'm like, Because if she had just said I was carjacked and the guy took the kids, that's one thing. But she's like, a black man. And again, even in South Carolina, even white people are like, nah, a black man do not want to be seen with a couple white kids. Because people gonna ask questions. It's a little suspicious.
Yeah, they're gonna pull him over and all that shit. Yeah.
So detectives, they revealed later on that they began to doubt her story from the start and believed that she had murdered the boys, but couldn't prove it.
Oh.
So after the boys had been missing for about 2 days, she and David were subjected to a polygraph test.
Okay.
Because she's on TV and crying, and the polygraph test was inconclusive. The biggest breakthrough of the case was her description of the carjacking location, obviously. 'Cause it sounds like these investigators and detectives actually were really good at their job because they smelled the bullshit right away.
Okay, good. All right.
So she claimed that she was on her way to her friend's house from Walmart, and she stopped at an intersection. And that's when the carjacker jumped in and took the kids and da-da-da. So she had claimed that the traffic light had turned red, causing her to stop at an otherwise empty intersection. Okay. But later on, during the investigation, it was determined that the light would not have turned red for her unless a vehicle was present on the intersecting road.
Okay.
So it's like a timer. Like,
I know.
it senses. Yeah. So this conflicted with her statement that she did not see any other cars there when the carjacking took place. So when they confronted her with this information, at first she denied it. But once she realized that they suspected her and the heat was turned up, it was ratcheted up. So this happened in October. According to her, the hijacking occurred October 25th. But the heat had gotten too hot for her. So by November 3rd, 1994, she confessed to letting her car roll into the nearby John D. Long Lake.
Oh, shit.
Drowning her 2 sons, one, Michael, 3 years old, and Alex, 14 months, still strapped into their car seats inside.
I hate her so much.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now,
so many people to burn in this story. Burn her. I'm sorry. Like, no.
I just,
you can't.
So you wonder, her. Like, what would make a mother do this, right? Like, what is, later on during the investigation, many suspect that her motivation was to continue her relationship with Tom Finlay, the guy who had just broken up with her. Because you see, in the letter that he wrote breaking up with her, he reportedly also gave one of the reasons was that he did not want children.
Okay. Wow. Then he's not right for you.
Right, because you got 2 little babies. So,
yeah.
But according to her, that's not true. She said there was no premeditation, because that would say that she had planned this. But that she had just basically snapped. She wasn't in her right mind. She just snapped in that moment. So
I don't know.
I mean, as you can imagine, people were horrified.
Yeah.
Horrified. I mean, again, all the black people are like, that sounds about right. Yep. Whenever they talk about as a black man or as a black person, something ain't right in the Kool-Aid. So, in 1995, it went to trial, of course. So at her trial in 95, David Bruck and Judy Clark served as co-counsel for Smith. And in their opening statements, they argued that she was deeply troubled and experienced severe depression.
Okay.
So Clark reportedly told the jury, quote, "This is not a case about evil. This is a case about despair and sadness," end quote.
Okay. I know. Listen, leave them at a fire station. I'm not arguing her desperate need for mental health support. I get that. But leave them at a fire station. Abandon them. Legit. It's okay.
Well, and I mean, her defense goes on to say that she had actually intended to kill herself, which is why she drove to the edge of the lake. But
what happened?
So she was going to kill herself and the boys together. So she was going to kill them all. But when she turned on the car, so she drove to the edge of the lake, she was going to drive in and kill them all.
Okay.
But for some reason, her body willed her out of the car.
Yeah, that's because she had the ability to do so.
Yeah, because she wasn't two little innocent boys strapped into car seats in the back. Yeah. Now, the prosecution, on the other hand, believes she had murdered her boys in order to start a new life with Tom. Plain and simple. They were like, this ain't nothing else, but that she, saw a future with a new beau who was rich, and she could start her life over again. So she had to get rid of these boys. Now, the jury only took about 2.5 hours to convict her of murdering them.
Yeah.
But they ultimately voted against imposing the death penalty because her defense psychiatrist diagnosed her with dependent personality disorder and major depression. So that kind of, also I think white ladiness helped her.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the death penalty, like as a general rule. She could rot in jail forever. I'm good with that.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, like I said, she was convicted of 2 counts of murder and sentenced to life. So she was incarcerated in a unit in Columbia, South Carolina. During her incarceration at the Camille Griffin Graham Correctional Institution, 2 correctional officers were charged after having sex with her.
Oh my God.
So she was continuing to have, now I am hesitant to say that it was necessarily consensual because oftentimes in these power relationships in these institutions, but it kind of, in the research I found, it seemed that they were leaning towards that. This is directly related to her dependent personality disorder.
Everything
looking
you've
for love
said
in all
to
the wrong
me,
places.
up to this point, this tracks. And also, my obsession over Orange is the New Black has taught me that this is totally possible.
Yeah.
So.
Well, after that came out, she was then moved to Leith Correctional Institution in Greenwood, where she's been ever since.
Okay.
So in 2000, so a little bit of the after story. In 2010, her ex-husband, David, and the father of the boys told People magazine that he has never fully recovered from the pain. Quote, there's always this nagging and gnawing heartache.
Yeah.
It's there every day, even if I'm not always conscious of it, end quote.
Like, listen, you can't take human life. You just can't do it. But she took her husband's children away too.
But just also like innocent little children that you gave birth to. Like I couldn't,
I cannot. Like again, abandon them. Again, give up your rights to them. Like, you can do this without what you did.
I mean, you're right. But then imagine if she were to do that, right? So imagine that if she were to go back to Tom and be like, you know what? Let's do this. I can give my husband sole custody of these boys. Let's just be together. Tom would then look at her like, what kind of woman would abandon her children?
Does Tom? I mean, I hear that, but the alternative is, baby, my kids have been abducted. Let's do this thing. Like,
yes, because she becomes the victim. She becomes a victim of this horrible tragedy that he will then rush to her to comfort her, or at the very least, David will come back and then that'll make them closer because it's like, I need someone to feel bad for me. I need the attention also.
Oh my God.
I know it's crazy because it's something you and I could not even fathom.
No.
Like, yeah, this is why I'm a big proponent of birth control because not everybody should have children.
No, they shouldn't all have children.
If you aren't like, I really, really want a baby, you should not have a baby.
No, I say that all the time. I've had people, because I have children, especially when they were like really little, people I didn't ask. I never ask if you want children. It's none of my business, but people would just share with me. They're like, oh, they're so cute. I don't know if I want kids, like kind of apologetic. And I'm like, oh, then don't have them. That's my.
Yeah, I mean, because also, even when you really, really want kids, it's still really, really hard.
It is. It really is. Even my kid knows this. One of my kids, they're 9. He's like,
they know. They can pick up on it. Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, I don't know that I want kids because I know how much work it is. And we're like,
Yep.
I mean, but it's so rewarding. Give me grandchildren.
Yeah.
He's like,
Well,
I mean,
like,
I'll see.
now, 25 years later, because people did a whole sort of like, they kept in touch with her, with this case, rather. In 2019, 25 years after this whole incident, People magazine obtained records that showed her incarceration had been marred with disciplinary infractions for self-mutilation, drug use, and possession of narcotics. Each infraction resulted in the loss of privileges, including loss of visitation, canteen, and telephone privileges. Now, in 2015, she wrote a letter defending herself to the state, a South Carolina newspaper, calling, quote, "Mr. Cahill, I am not the monster society thinks I am," she wrote to the reporter. "I am far from it," end quote. In March of 2020, people gained access to the letters that Susan Smith had written to a long-distance boyfriend. Now, she's still dating.
What? Who's she dating?
Well, she says she wanted to marry this person when she was freed from jail. One of her relatives was like, quote, "She's imagining the normalcy of a married life. She wants everything in life that she believes has passed her by," end quote.
No,
so in these
you
letters,
can't have that. No.
Now, in these letters to this mystery man, people obtained, she wrote, quote, "I can't wait to build a life with you. Leave the past mistakes behind and start fresh. Just you and me," end quote. So basically what you wanted to do with Tom back in 94.
No, I'm going to go with no here. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm usually very like empathetic and finding where people came from, but like lots of people come from shit. They don't become you, girl. No.
Well, it's one thing that if she had been, locked up all this time and would have been like, "I did a terrible thing. I'm asking for forgiveness."
She's not doing that.
It can never be. It's an unforgivable thing. I took the lives of my 2 children, 2 innocent children, but I'm asking, I'm slowly making my way to possibly having at least some peace with that. But, asking for forgiveness. Nope. She's just like, "Oh, let's just put that behind me. I just can't." Just like,
yeah. You see the Book of Mormon?
Mm-hmm.
Turn it off like a light bulb. Just go switch. I mean,
switch.
It's just like different notes than what I just sang, but no, you can't turn it off like a light bulb.
No. Mm-mm. Now, so this was in March of 2020 that people got access to these letters. By October 2022, that relationship had fizzled out as well. So, I mean, because you're
how's she like making friends and hanging out and dating guys? Like, how do you do that?
Well,
in jail.
You got a lot of time to put into, the exactly what you want to say. It's your lifeblood, and like, I'm not one of those people who are like, "Oh, you're in prison, you should live like an animal in a cage," and like, I'm not.
No.
But it's the lack of accountability that she seems to have.
That's my problem with her.
Yeah.
Like I listened to, what was it, on the moth.com or the Moth Radio Hour? Mm-hmm. There's a story. It's a great story of this woman who had a beautiful marriage and life and children, and her husband passed away, and she started writing letters to a prison. She actually started connecting with this guy, and they actually like got married, and it's actually kind of beautiful. Like he gets out 5 years into the relationship, and he does move in, but he says, like, "I was a dumb kid and I did dumb things. Yeah. And if I could take it back, I would. And I hopefully am a better person, da 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 da." That's great. Rock out. I'm so happy for them. But this is different.
Especially, I have no pity for, especially these white ladies who are like, "A black person did it."
Yeah, you know what?
So not only did she kill her children, she was trying to take the life of some random black man who, if, investigators or officers, how bad her story had to be for white officers in South Carolina to be like, "That sounded a little suspicious. A black man took your kids? What?" Now, right now, as of the recording of this podcast, Susan Smith will be eligible for parole in November of 2024, next year,
Oh,
at the age of 53.
okay.
So that is Susan Smith. You've heard of this story, though, right?
I feel like I have. Yes. Everything you're saying sounds like familiar. All I'm thinking is like, I want to make sure she can't get pregnant again, is what I want to make
Well,
sure.
I don't.
Do not
Yeah, I don't think she
53
could.
is going to
Yeah,
stop that from happening.
and I mean, listen, I understand, the fallout. Sounds like there's some mental health issues that are going on there, but many people who struggle with mental health are not killers.
The problem, yes, here's the thing. Here's where I have a twofold response to that. I have empathy to the mental health needs of humans that have we are finally like at least having a conversation about it for maybe the first time in our humanity, but maybe not, right?
Mhm.
Maybe we go in and out. But the point is like, yes, we are having the conversation. At the same time, that's going to stigmatize
Mhm.
every single person out there who has a mental health situation. And honestly, most people do.
Yeah.
So, like, oh, well, their mental health wasn't good. Okay, well, what are you going to look at someone funny when they go get their antidepressants? Like, no, like.
And it's like the selfishness of it. Like, this actually, I know we were speaking of Agatha Christie earlier, but there's actually a new, cause again, I'm an Anglophile if I haven't said that the 1,000th time. But, so I love I love to see how they adapt, Agatha Christie's work. And there's a new one out. Well, I think it's from 2019, I think, and then there were none. And then there were none and they made it into like a limited series. Sam Neill's in it. Like,
I need to see this now.
Yeah, it's on, I found it on, Prime. I don't know who produced it, but, it's so interesting because, and then there are none, for those of you who don't know, is credited with introducing the idea of the final girl, as a trope in horror and in mystery. And so it's about these people who come on this island and there's this mysterious, I forget the name of the people, whatever. So basically they get on this island and, they hear this recording accusing them all of crimes and that they're going to kill themselves. And like the through line is this, a poem, 10 Little Indians, which is adapted from something a lot more problematic. Look it up. And then it has slowly become, and then there were none. So there's been different versions of, and then there was none with that new title. So anyway, so the young woman, because there's a woman who's the lead in it, and she's also the final girl. It's so interesting because it's like a similar kind of thing. She does something that's so heinous because she thinks that she's helping the man she loves. But when he suspects what she did, he rightfully is horrified and like grossed out by her. He's repulsed by her. And so the fact that Susan got it in her head, and again, if Tom says, I'm not interested in you because I don't want any kids, it sounds like a little bit of a brush off, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I bet you in Tom's head, it wasn't all that deep. It was like, okay, yeah, she's hot. I got this. She's a little too much. I'm not that into you. And that was it. That was it.
And also, even if he were, let's say he was really into her. If he was really into her, two little adorable kids, you got a ready-made family, right? She's young enough; they can have their own kids. This is good if he's really into her. If he's really not into her, then that's a great excuse. Like you said, he's just sort of like, she's a bit much, but if it wasn't for your kids.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't really want children. And, it's like, it sounds like he's just blowing her off, basically.
He just met another girl at the bar last night. She's hot, but she's like, you can't fuck around with anyone else. So he was like, that's fine. I was getting sick of her anyways. That's like what happened. Okay.
Or Susan is a bit much. She sounds very clingy. And listen, I'm not one of those.
Probably a bit much.
Yeah, I don't want to buy into the like clingy woman kind of trope, but she sounds a bit clingy, especially if her diagnosis is to be believed. And it was kind of like a convenient, like, way to like blow her off and not seem like an asshole.
I mean, you have to be so far gone to do what she did.
Oh yeah.
Like, you have to be so far gone. That's why, like, yes, mental health, but we can't do this to people with mental health. Like, we can't, like, I always joke that all the cool kids have mental health shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And also, I mean, even by her own admission,
she's a murderer. Come on.
Let's say that she snapped in the moment. She went into a fugue state and she was like, oh, I have to, I'm just going to end it all. And she was in the car and then she, she jumped out of the car at the last minute and then
you save your children.
Like, are you horrified? Like, do you go down there and then unbuckle them and bring them out and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I almost did this. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like,
you do what you can. You call 911. You try to resuscitate.
Yeah.
You throw yourself in a psychiatric unit.
Yeah. And I think that she would have actually had more pity because she's this young.
Oh, yeah.
Not a bad looking woman, especially if you go and see old videos of her. She's a young, white, pure looking white girl from South Carolina. And, and she's just sort of like, and especially the acting job that she did for those 9 days, like, just bring my children back. I promise. Like, it's just like, girl, like.
That's a sociopath.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist.
A sociopath.
Yeah, exactly. Allegedly. Like, I don't know, but it's just the whole idea again. And then being like, it's a black man. Of course, that pisses me off because it's like, so if these had been less capable policemen, they would have gone out and harassed a bunch of like black men who are minding their own damn business.
Listen, that is what I thought you were going for at first. And so I was like, come on, think through. But you know what? They did. Okay. Good job. Good job.
Yep. They actually did their job. If law enforcement did their job, because from the get-go, they were like, this sounds a little fishy.
Yeah. Yeah.
After 2 days, if they gave them polygraph tests, it sounded a little fishy to them after 2 days. They were like, yeah, why don't you come and take these tests? Like,
you know what? Exactly. No, she can rot in alleged hell. Okay? That's what I say to this.
I know. It's a terrible thing. It's so, like I said, I love a murderess. I love, but not one who murders children.
No, not the children. Bitch. Okay. No.
Yeah. Some, abusive asshole. I'm good with that.
Yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do. I mean.
In my Larry David voice. Well, on that note, that wraps it up for another episode of Notorious Women Podcast. Guys, remember to follow us, like us, download, share, subscribe, do all the things. Get the word out there. If this is a show you think some of your friends and family and loved ones would like, copy the link and send it to them. Don't tell them about it. Just copy the link.
Just send it to them.
Send it to them. Also, 5 stars. 5 stars.
Yeah, if you could just quickly, like, whatever it is you listen to it, just like quickly, like, throw those stars on there. That would be really swell. We would like you very much.
We would. And if you want to support us financially, throw us a little bones, little moolah, little money. You can do that by going to patreon.com/notoriouswomen. That's patreon.com/notoriouswomen. And that's patreon.com/notoriouswomen. And you can something as little as $2 a month, or you can give a one-time donation to help us out. That'd be greatly appreciated. And Miriam will tell you other ways you can get in contact with us. Miriam?
Yes, you can also email us at notoriouswmpod@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can also check us out on Instagram. We have a fun Instagram, which is so easy. It's Notorious Women Podcast. So that's super simple. You can DM us there as well.
And that's all Miriam, just so you guys know. Miriam is the rock star of IG.
Listen, if you want Lavetta to show up on our Instagram and you want to pressure her a little bit, like, please feel free.
Don't do it.
Send us Send us a thought. Send us what do you want her to post? Just saying. She's so beautiful. She needs to show her face on the thing more often. One of us was a model and one of us was never a model.
No. That was a long time ago.
Girl, you still got it, okay?
Oh, you're so sweet. I appreciate that. But on that note, guys, we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.